And we're fortunate to have you on because, as you know, Kevin Durant has asked to be traded. Bob
What's
and I
this?
are, yes, sorry.
Really?
I'm informing. Bob and I are in a city where obviously that this has been a major conversation piece, just given what Toronto's assets are. So let's just start with the basics. Do you anticipate Kevin Durant will be traded from the Nets?
So the basic is, I'm not sure the Nets and Kevin Durant know right now. I know what's been said, and I know what's out there. And I believe that Kevin Durant's intention when he made the phone call was to be dealt. And I think the Nets initially thought, okay, let's see what's out there. But with each day that goes by, I think there's a greater chance that the two sides might find some common ground and might determine that it's in the best interest of both sides to play this out for a year, the length of Kyrie Irving's contract, see if they could maybe go win a championship with the group that they're assembling, and then go back and re-examine whether or not this is something they have to revisit. Now, that's predicated on Kevin Durant shifting his opinion on where things stand and whether or not this is irreparable. That's really the main question right now. Are you past the point of no return, or are you still in a position where, as the Nets accumulate pieces, Durant and Kyrie look at the team, look around the league, and determine that it's in their best interest to stay and play and attempt to win it all? I do think the Nets have gone into this with the intention of seeking out the best possible deal. I don't think they've been blown away by anything as of this moment. And leverage, if you want to use that word, I'm not sure you can really use it in this current situation, but if you want to use it, the leverage would favor the Nets in that they're not at a place where they have to do anything. Last year did not go according to plan. Last year was uncomfortable at times, the way the team performed and the dynamic within the team. Can it get more uncomfortable? Yeah, if a player decides he's not going to show up. I don't think Kevin Durant is at that stage. He cares about his legacy. He cares about where he stands in the record books. He cares about his reputation as a baller. And I think Kevin Durant is going to play if indeed this situation does not correct itself.
Oh, but just one follow-up for me on this. So you were there every day. Obviously we were not. Bob and I were not. So from afar, I thought Durant was a total professional last year. He did his sort of, I feel like he handled the crazy situation as best as possible. So what happened? What happened between Kevin Durant sort of doing his business and fulfilling his contract last year to now being asked to want to get out of there? I mean, were there things that happened behind the scenes that really we don't know, or did something literally happen between the Nets being eliminated to the trade request?
Yeah, obviously we're not all privy to what's taken place and the conversations that have taken place, trying to piece together the timeline of this. The Nets lose, they get swept by Boston. They lose game one, as we know, in shocking fashion. Tatum at the buzzer. Celtics go up 1-0. And at that point, they never quite sniff it again, even though they probably should have won game two, had a sizable lead, couldn't finish the deal. And then before you know it, the season's over. It left a bitter taste in the mouth of the organization and of Kevin Durant. And I would believe Kyrie Irving, just how everything played out. The team struggled to get to that 7th spot in the play-in. It was not a shoo-in. The last 2 weeks of the season, they were going maximum effort to beat the likes of Detroit and Indiana and Cleveland, teams that were either out of the playoffs or on the periphery. So the idea that they were going to flip a switch and then become a championship team overnight, it wasn't realistic. It wasn't going to happen. But then the spillover took place in the playoffs. They faced adversity. They didn't recover from it. Okay, season ends. Now what? Communication between all sides seemed to be completely out of whack. There wasn't a whole lot of back and forth. And I think that was the first sign that everybody needed a cool off period. But what the Nets probably found out the hard way is that Durant went off and made some determinations in his own mind of what he wanted for his future. And when the Kyrie Irving contract conversation didn't go according to plan, at least in the eyes of KD, that might have been a final straw for him. Fair, unfair, irrelevant to the situation. Other than if you're the Nets, that line of communication that apparently wasn't open came back to haunt you, because the next thing they knew, Kevin Durant was calling and saying, I want out. So to answer your question, what took place? Kevin Durant was with his people, developing his own philosophies. And while the Nets made the determination they could not give Kyrie Irving a 4-year extension, guaranteed maximum money, they thought 2 years, max money, 2 years incentives. They believed that was fair. Kyrie took umbrage to it, and apparently KD took umbrage to it as well. So as we know, in the current NBA, players do have a lot of power, more than they've ever had. And if you're a superstar player, you can dictate some situations. The problem for Kevin, he just signed a 4-year extension, maximum money. So that's why the Nets were flabbergasted that this happened.